broadcasting from the Unshackled Studios in Melbourne. This is WilmsFront, brought to you by theunshackled.net. Now here's Tim Wilms.
Hello everyone and welcome to tonight's show. The date is Friday the 21st of February 2020. It is 7:25 p.m. here in Melbourne, so obviously starting a bit later than the normal 7 p.m. Start time, but it's better to be late and have everything organised, as I say, so I can bring you a fantastic, and forgive me for using this pun, fabulous show. Now, there's been quite a lot of despair and rightful anger within the traditionalist conservative movement and community at the increasing public degeneracy promoted in the West. The worst aspect of this is the early sexualization of young children, the promotion to them of alternative lifestyles, and even medical and cosmetic bodily changes, which is it's probably been most aggressively promoted, or the aspect of this which has been most aggressively promoted is Drag Queen Storytime, and of course all opponents of that are demonized, and we saw recently the tragic consequences of standing up against that with Wilson Gavin, who protested Drag Queen Storytime at the Brisbane City Public Library, and the backlash against him. The next day he tragically took his own life, and his chant there was not against drag queens period, but drag queens are not for kids. Because drag queens have historically been adult entertainers, and when I say adult entertainers, I don't mean sex workers. I mean they tell adult jokes, speak in double entendre and in flamboyant and sexualized ways. But somehow, sometime, somewhere, someone decided that drag queens who, as I said, being adult entertainers, they should read to children in public libraries and should basically take over the children's area in public libraries all over the West. Now, the drag queens who've been authorized to read in public libraries, some of them have had questionable attire on, questionable backgrounds and characters, and some have even had criminal convictions which haven't been properly vetted. Those who are currently in charge of the LGBT lobby groups believe that this is the next step in tolerance, love, self-expression, and diversity, but there's even disturbingly modern parents who think a Drag Queen Story Hour is a fun event to bring their children to. The phenomena is defended by many conservatives and libertarians under parental rights and free speech. So it is, given that the parents consent, it is somewhat difficult to oppose, other than just by explaining why we think this is wrong. And obviously there have been a lot of demonstration against Drag Queen Story Hour in the United States, but not too many in Australia. Obviously the most high profile one, as I mentioned, Wilson Gavin. And in response to Wilson Gavin, who was himself a practicing homosexual, California-based drag queen Kitty Demure posted a video message online addressed to woke parents taking their children to Drag Queen Storytime, which went viral online. And so I'd just like to play that for you now.
Hi everybody, this is Kitty Demure, your friendly favorite conservative drag queen. Anyway, I have another message for heterosexual women, the ones who have children. I have no idea why you want drag queens to read books to your children. I have no idea. What in the hell has a drag queen ever done to make you have so much respect for them and admire them so much, other than put on makeup and jump on the floor and writhe around and do sexual things on stage? I have absolutely no idea why you would want that to influence your child. Would you want a stripper or a porn star to influence your child? It makes no sense at all. A drag queen performs in a nightclub for adults. There is a lot of filth that goes on, a lot of sexual stuff that goes on. And backstage, there's a lot of nudity, sex, and drugs. Okay? So I don't think that this is an avenue you would want your child to explore. They could explore dressing up at home, like we all did, like all gay boys did. We all dressed at home and we had a great time. We had a great time with our girlfriends, putting on makeup, trying on clothes, things like that. But to actually get them involved in drag is extremely, extremely irresponsible on your part. And I understand you might want to look like you're with it, that you're cool, that you're woke, that you're not a Nazi, that you're not a homophobe, whatever it may be. But you can raise your child to be just a normal, regular, everyday child without including them in gay, sexual things. And honestly, you're not doing the gay community any favors. In fact, you're hurting us, okay? We have already had a reputation of being pedophiles and being perverts and deviants. We don't need you to bring your children around. So you keep your kids at home, or take them to Disneyland, or take them to Chuck E. Cheese. But if you need your child to be entertained by a big human in a costume or in makeup, take them to the circus or something. When they turn 18, then why don't you take them to the clubs on their 18th birthday? Because it's an adult thing, okay? So don't ruin your child's life, and don't ruin us, because that's what you're doing.
And Kitty Demure is my guest for this show this evening. Kitty, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now we are live on the Tim Wilms YouTube channel, as always. I've got the lovely Dia Beltran as my moderator. Say hello, Dia. So she's going to be checking the chat for inappropriate comments throughout tonight's show. And of course, we are also live on the Tim Wilms D-Live channel as well. I couldn't get Entropy working again. I couldn't get it working Wednesday night. I got it working last night for the Uncockables, but didn't work tonight. Now, we were scheduled to start at the top of the hour, Kitty. It's well past midnight in California, so I'm sorry I'm keeping you up.
Oh, that's okay. I'm used to the nightlife. I'm used to being awake, so this is no problem.
That is the joke, that this is... It's the night's just beginning for drag queens.
Yes.
Well, and you're also, everyone in the chat has already twigged that you're a friend of Hogatha.
Yes, we are good friends.
Obviously, yeah, your message before. What did Hogatha react to that?
Wait, to what?
To your Drag Queen Storytime message.
Well, yeah, she has opinions. She's like, the parents of these kids. Everything's acceptable, everything's okay, everything's offensive. So yeah, she understands the people who support Drag Queen Storybook Hour.
So I'll start. Well, your personal journey to become Kitty Demure. Why do you do drag? Like, why do you like doing it? How did you get into it? What enjoyment and adrenaline do you get out of it?
I would say it started for me at a very, very young age. I would look at my mother's fashion magazines, Cosmopolitan, Vogue, Glamour, things like that. And I learned about skincare, the makeup application and stuff. And I grew up at a time in the 80s where the new romantic, new wave movement was out. And we had, artists like Boy George, Adam Ant, Duran Duran. Kiss was, very popular when I was really young. And I had just been, I loved the costuming, all the flamboyancy and stuff. And so I started playing with makeup. And I actually started wearing it to high school. But it was different then. The fashion of the 80s was very androgynous in a certain period. So it's just something that I've always done. And when it came to actually being a performing drag queen, I fell into that by working in a club and actually working with the most famous drag queens that are out there now. And I assisted them, got their drinks, drove them, did their lighting, music, everything for a certain club in the Los Angeles area. And I decided one day I'll put all my skills together and see what I can do. And I came up with the name Kitty Demure because I'm actually a very big person. So I thought Kitty, implied something small. And Demure is not what I am. I tend to be, mouthy and honest and abrasive and brash. And it's like that seemed like a funny, name to name myself. And so I started performing. I performed off and on for about 4 years. I was in pageants and things like that. Um, I just decided after a while that the stage wasn't for me. I came to my expiration date because it's a young guy's game and competition, and I turned to online influence. I'm like, an online influencer. I get involved in politics, and the Drag Queen Storybook Hour is the last thing I've decided to tackle.
You describe yourself as online influencer. Has Michael Bloomberg messaged your Instagram yet, asking you to promote him?
No, but Michael Bloomberg, I would love it. I need the money, so yeah, I'm a whore, and you could buy me.
Even though, because on your channel you just did a live debrief from a Trump rally, so Michael Bloomberg could buy your influence.
Well, who doesn't need the money? I mean, I guess it depends on how much. No, I really wouldn't. I feel strongly Donald Trump is my president. Although for 50% of the Americans, they say he's not their president. I don't know how that happens.
Mm.
But no, no, I honestly wouldn't do it. But yeah, no, I'm a completely Trump supporter.
Donald Trump's not my president because I'm an Australian, so we don't even have a president in Australia.
What do you have, like a prime minister?
Prime Minister, and then the Queen's representative, the Governor General, as the head of state. In the US, you have the president is both the head of state and head of government. Our Prime Minister is the head of government, but the Governor General, Queen's representative, is the head of state. The Queen of England, okay. not that's what I'm referring. When I say Queen, I mean Queen of England. Obviously not. We don't have a drag queen of Australia.
Would the Queen ever visit Australia? Do you ever see her there?
Oh yeah, she comes regularly, especially when
there's. I never did that.
Well, she's the Queen of the Commonwealth realms. So when last major visit, she's probably visited since, but obviously the Commonwealth Games in Melbourne in 2006, because, well, it's the Queen's baton, so she puts like a message in the baton. It's not a flame one, it's like this hydro electrical one. She would have been at I can't remember at the Gold Coast Games, but because I was in Melbourne in 2006, she read out a message at the end. It was sort of like a message in a bottle to the sea. She put it in this torch baton, and it got handed around all the Commonwealth realms.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we have a completely different type of government. I couldn't even imagine, having a queen or anything like that.
Mm. Well, you fought a war to not have a queen or king.
Yes. It's so funny, me and my boyfriend, we were just watching. There's this mini-series on George Washington, and it's actually showing you a lot of the history and how we, fought for independence and stuff. A lot of things I didn't even know. So it's been interesting.
Probably most Australians, their main exposure to drag was the 1994 movie Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. You've seen that movie, I assume? And so that was in the gay clubs in Sydney, and the drag queens lip sync to popular songs and then do dirty monologues. Is that what you did, or was there other aspects to your performance?
I did a competition, a Britney Spears competition. You know, when you're in a competition, things are different because they'll give you a theme to the competition. But when you are just a, you know, I'm just gonna appear for the night and do a number, then you can come up with your own things. And I didn't get as nasty as some queens. I did once, just because I just wanted to do it, but I did. Probably the dirtiest thing I ever did was I had a fake vagina, and I wore a really short dress, and I took a tampon and I dipped it in like
Oh my
Halloween blood,
god.
and then I inserted it in the vagina, and I came down a staircase, and everybody could see the string hanging, and I did a song. It's a Madonna song that wasn't a popular song. It's called Where Life Begins, which is all about the female, you know, reproductive system. And at some point during my number, I pull the tampon out and I throw it at the audience, and it hit somebody. But that's probably the only time I did that type of performance.
Ew.
That's taking it to a new level, having the, and luckily I on YouTube, I click the videos not made for kids. This is definitely not a family-friendly episode. Well, the whole message of this program is drag queens are not for kids. So no, this is obviously not a kid-friendly or family-friendly program.
No, no, it's like, yeah, if drag, I don't understand why anybody would think a drag queen is kid friendly. I mean, the whole point of being a drag queen is is to exaggerate and to be provocative, and as adults we understand that. As a child, you're not going to understand that, and it isn't for children. It isn't. They can go to other places if they want to be entertained by characters, an amusement park or whatever, or a pizza place. You know, we have pizza places in the United States where people dress up and do things, and so I don't understand why they need that from a man who's dressed like a hooker or whatever to influence their children or entertain them. It's not for them, it's for adults.
I mean, when I was growing up in the 90s, there were children's entertainers in costumes, but there were the fairy princesses, which obviously
Right.
is very innocent, and of course magicians as well, who, well, even as adults, we're fascinated by the magic tricks. How did they make that wand into some flowers? We still don't know, because they all, it's like the Colonel's 12 herbs and spices. The magicians all have to sign this secret agreement, but it's innocent, innocuous stuff, turning a magic wand into a bunch of flowers.
Right. No, exactly. And I don't understand what they even see in drag queens to make them think it is appropriate for children. You know, I get a lot of people, you know, not agreeing with my point of view, of course. And I tell them, you know, nobody's complaining about Mrs. Doubtfire. And this is what I'm trying to get across. I go, if this whole storybook hour thing was rolled out in a more responsible way, where performers dressed up as characters and entertained the children, that would be different. But what they've done is they have drag queens that come in, and they're giving basically their nightclub routine in front of children. Now, they're not all doing it. There are some that I have seen who are more tasteful, but still the performer is an obvious man. And I don't even, the thing I don't like is that children are going to naturally be curious, and they're going to ask questions of the drag queen. And I don't want anybody to think that this is a legitimate business to be a drag queen, because it isn't. It's sort of like telling your child they can be a supermodel. There are very few women who are going to be supermodels.
And supermodel is a very brutal lifestyle if you when
Right.
you look past the superficiality.
Right. Same with drag. It's brutal, and you are in seedy clubs. You're around drunken people. It isn't. There's nothing glamorous about it other than the spotlight being in your face and performing. But as soon as that's over, you know, you're with all the drunk, drug addict people in clubs trying to hook up for sex. And it really, a drag queen is nothing but a liquor salesman in a club. You know, you're hosting a show or you're performing, but all you're there is to offer entertainment at a very, very cheap price, if not for free. And your whole function is just to sell things for the club. Really, you're a magnet for the club owner.
So going to the Trump rally, that would have been a refreshingly relaxed and cheerful atmosphere compared to what you've just described.
Oh, it was. It was wonderful. You know, I walked around. People were very accepting. I mean, I didn't go dressed like this, but they knew that I was gay because I was with some obvious gay people. And everybody was so warm and welcoming and sharing. They shared their food. Their people are they were very, very hospitable and nice. And this is not just like a couple people. These are thousands and thousands of people. It was very nice.
It could actually put the entertainment industry, including the drag industry, out of business, all these Trump rallies, because they're far more entertaining. Who wants to go to, say, a Rihanna concert when you can go to a Trump rally?
Well, right, and the Trump rally is free.
Free. What is the, because I've never spoken to anyone who's been to a Trump rally. What is because obviously you're in an arena with the president, and obviously he's the most powerful and protected man in the world. So what's the entry process like?
Well, it is a huge process. First, you have to go online. You have to get tickets, and from what I understand, everybody gets a ticket. So they will completely oversell the whole thing, which I get. You want it to be full, but he doesn't really have to do that. But anyway, that's what he does. So he oversells the rally. You have to show up a day in advance if you really want to get a really good seat or even get a chance to get in, because the Coliseum we were in holds 15,000. And that filled up very quickly. And then in the overflow outside, there were 20,000. So not even half the people could get in. But people are willing to sit outside and watch his rally on a TV. But, you know, you stand in line. And we were in Phoenix, Arizona, which is a desert. And so it was very hot. It wasn't very hot, I shouldn't say that. It was very sunny. And me having the complexion of a maggot and not having sunscreen on was very, unhealthy, but uncomfortable, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so anyway, so we finally we're in line. We probably stood in line about 7 hours because we had a friend who got there the day before and camped in a tent, and he held a spot for us. So we go through security. Security is extremely, extremely tight. They have the local police there, the sheriff, the Secret Service, other hired security personnel. So once you get into the Coliseum, it's still another 4 hours before Trump will take the stage. But in between, you hear other speakers like his son, people from his cabinet, a senator, things like that. And then finally he shows up, and it's just electric. I mean, his supporters they're very loud and proud, and it was just amazing. It was just very fun, and it's just really weird and nice to see the leader of the free world right in front of you, and it kind of makes him more human. He was not as our media likes to make fun of him, so they say he's fat, or they'll make fun of his weight. Well, he did not appear obese at all. He's a big man. He's a big man, but he's not an obese person. And he was not as loud as he comes across on television. I don't know if it's just the audio system was turned down, but he tended to have more of a softer, hoarse voice. But when I watched the rally today on television, he comes across very boisterous on the microphone, and he isn't like that in person. But it was great. I mean, he's a rock star, and I've been to some big concerts in my life, and he is loved just like Madonna was in the 80s and 90s, and it was great. It was completely worth it. I would do it again. I didn't sleep for 24 hours, and I drove hundreds of miles, and I would do it again because it was a great experience.
And that's the thing. it wasn't just the 2 hours or so. And this is also the case with like big pop concerts where there's only a limited amount of seats and everyone wants to get in, but it's not happening with a pop star, celebrity, people who are just famous for just art. This is a politician who wants to change America and is de facto the world leader.
Correct. Yes. And then you really got that impression. It's funny because he has sort of taken the formality out of politics. Like he's the first, I think, political figure in my lifetime where you actually feel like he would talk to you. And you know what I mean? And just be a normal person. And he completely comes across like that. He's, and I don't think it's an act. I just think, he's a billionaire who did not inherit that money. He actually worked with blue collar workers and, and so he understands them, even though he don't understand the struggle of just being a working person. I think he understands the people, and he just really connects with people. I mean, you just feel like he knows you and knows what you're thinking, and I don't know. So that makes him normal to everybody who supports him.
A lot of people in the chat are asking whether I should, or suggesting I should do drag, but like, look at, can't see it here, but look at all that hair on my arm, and like, you see like all the hair like on my chest. It goes up to my, and this leads into my next question is, why aren't you transgender? Because obviously you're still a biological 100% male, which means you take your makeup off, you're a man, but you not only, it's not like just a woman does dressing up, you have to wax and hide all your masculine features. So what's the difference between being a drag queen and then, like, why don't you live as a woman full time, or you don't see a drag queen as a woman?
Because this is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It may look like just makeup is slapped on your face, but there's a lot of it's weird. There's a lot of like mathematics involved as far as the shading and the angles and lighting and knowing contours, and really it is, people want to fetishize it or make it into a something sexual, although I agree that they should, how can I put it, drag has pointed them in that direction, but for me, honestly, it is an art. I honestly, as soon as the camera shuts off, I take it all off. I would never want to do this every day. I just wouldn't. It's a lot of work, but I like the results. I like seeing a different person. I like challenging myself into pushing the art further. But for me, it's not about being a woman. It's being able to paint a woman on my face. And as far as like waxing and stuff, I don't do that. The only thing that I have done to alter my appearance is I have started shaving off my eyebrows, because it's a lot of work to cover up the eyebrows and to make a realistic brow. And since I've been doing a lot of stuff, interviews and videos and things, since my viral video, I've just shaved them off. I wear glasses, so it kind of hides the area. But I just don't. For me, it's not a sexual thing, and I definitely do not want to be a woman. When I was a child, I did question, because all my friends were girls, and I did like feminine things. So I thought, oh, maybe I'm a girl, or it would be fun to. No, it wasn't. I didn't think I want to be a girl. I thought it would be fun to be a girl, because when I was a child in the '70s, you never even considered that you could change.
Yeah, that it was possible.
It was a thought that never entered your mind. So if you don't think it's possible, then you don't even consider it. So, which I kind of think they should do to children now. But anyway, but no, I talked about this earlier today. I don't understand why LGBT has to have the T in it. I'm one of these people, me and my partner, we don't consider ourselves part of that. We call it a cult. We're just homosexuals, and we don't really we don't care what they do. But yeah, but back to what you said. It's all about art for me, and I never would want to be a woman. I enjoy being a man, and I just enjoy coloring my face. It's that simple.
You mentioned painting a woman on yourself, and this is what, as they're known, trans exclusionary radical feminists. They're not just against trans women, but also against drag queens, because they see it as mocking woman. Like, you wouldn't wear blackface. I'm not sure what your opinion is on blackface, but they try to make the same thing, that it's the same thing, like doing a stereotypical impersonation of a woman. It's like dressing up in blackface or doing a minstrel show mocking black people.
No, and it's funny because I completely understand that. I do. And I've even, as you know, I'm a troll of sorts online, and I have actually floated the idea that drag is the height of misogyny. And I don't know. I mean, you can make an argument about that. And I kind of think that even goes off into the trans topic. Like, really, a man putting on a woman's face and attire and acting in a way that's disrespectful or lewd, I understand why a woman, or certain types of women, are offended by that. And when it comes to blackface, it's funny because my partner is black, and we talk about this, and we talked about it earlier today about blackface. And he said, I don't know what the big deal is about it. If it's funny, I'm going to laugh. But if there's a difference. You know when you're being insulted, and you know when people are making fun of you. And then you know when people are just having fun with the whole thing. But I do understand that there are people who are offended by it, and that's why I don't like the way the community is shoving it down the throats of people, and for whatever reason, all these parents are eating it up, and I don't get it. But I think that's a valid argument for some people. And men have been doing drag for hundreds of years, and I believe they started doing it because women weren't allowed to perform. So you're sort of...
It was born out of misogyny and sexism and discrimination.
Right, but they do it proudly, and they think there's nothing wrong with it, and they don't even stop to consider, the history of it. But they're a powerful group, and it's almost like they're going to pretend to be I'm an oppressed group, so I can do this. Well, not really. You're not really oppressed. I mean, in the United States, you're not anymore. I mean, just, but people love to hold on to the bad history, so it justifies their bad behavior. But I don't know. But I do see that. I do see that women would think that it is misogynist, and I think they have a good argument.
Now, going back to trans women who go from transition from being biological males to have the female appearance. Well, they're always going to be biological males, but they take hormones and cosmetic and medical surgery to become trans women. So it's never appealed to you to take estrogen, or because I have heard that drag queens and even some gay men have actually taken estrogen to feminize their appearance, and so they don't end up looking like me forever with all this.
Right. I mean, I'm hairy as well, but not like you. But I do. But you don't have like you like, okay, talk about you doing drag. You have a face. You could do it. It's not overly masculine. You can get rid. Your eyebrows are probably the most masculine thing on your face. But I don't. I take advantage of that. I'm the same way. I don't have an extremely masculine face, and I don't understand that. Why would you take medications to try to feminize yourself? I would never feminize myself. I wouldn't. I like being a guy. That's why. I don't know. I usually have a beard. I mean, when I'm not doing this, I have a beard. I don't. I don't mind being masculine. In fact, I really like it. And I don't understand, like the gay community, you're talking about just men just taking estrogen. Why would they do that? It's like even all the gay men are turning more gay. It's like where are the real, you know what I mean, masculine men? I mean, pretty soon there's not going to be gay people because they're all just going to be women. I just don't understand that.
Have you heard of it was of course it was first put out there by Alex Jones that all the food producers were deliberately putting estrogen in food products to feminize men, and but we see what is that the impossible Whopper that what's called Hungry Jack's in Australia, Burger King over in the United States, that's something like 40 mils of estrogen, and that's one of everyone's sort of saying these days. Alex Jones was right, and there's been a lot of doctors and scientists who've done a fact check on, will, if you eat this burger, will it make you grow boobs? Do you think that's a real thing? Like, we're getting we're sidetracking here, but do you think food is making people more feminine, like the processed food that we have?
It's so funny because these are things that me and my partner talk about. We actually, like, we won't eat tofu. We won't eat tofu because apparently it is rich in estrogen. Which, besides why we would never eat it, because we're like carnivores. So I don't understand that. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there was fluoride put in our water. I don't know if it was like that in Australia, but for many years they put fluoride in our water, and it was connected to like cancer and other problems. And I don't think they put fluoride in our water anymore, but I don't know. I mean, I do tend to not trust those things. I won't get a flu shot. I don't know how you guys feel about that in Australia, but there are people here who won't do those things because they you don't trust it. You don't trust your own government. So it's, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys have the same trust issues, but I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if there is something with processed foods. I do know it makes you unhealthy and obese, but I don't know if it turns you into a woman.
Well, I just meant it makes you develop, because there does seem, what I'm getting at is there does seem to be the man boob epidemic. I'm not sure if you've noticed this, that men these days, they do seem to have, like, their breasts cup size seems to be larger. I'm not sure if that's something you've noticed as well. That's something that I've noticed.
Well, I suffer from that myself, and it's just extra fat. I think it's many reasons that you know, it's our sedentary culture. It's, you know, men no longer work and build up their muscles anymore. You know, in this country anyway, you know, you have 40-year-old men who are still living at home playing video games. So you know, of course they're going to grow tits. I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know if it has to do with the food or the culture or, you know, our lazy lifestyles. But yeah, I've always, even when I was an active child, I always, for some reason, I had fatty tits, and so I don't know.
It was personified in Australia at last year's federal election. The opposition leader, Bill Shorten, he had very visible man boobs, and there's some very unflattering photos, including one where he gets off the bus where they're just the largest ones you've ever seen, and so a lot of people called him Tits Shorten, and he nearly became, everyone thought that he was going to become the Prime Minister, but he lost the unlosable election, maybe because of a few of those unflattering photos, but we would have had a Prime Minister who had this problem.
I know marijuana can do it as well.
Canada as well. So kids don't do pot, or boys don't do pot.
Really? In Australia? I mean, where?
Oh, I thought you just said that marijuana causes man boobs.
Yeah, they do. That's what we're. That's
what I was saying. So that's another reason not to do marijuana. Just say no.
I just do it to go to sleep.
Well, is that what you blame it on?
I blame it on me just being lazy, and I love to eat.
And just for the record, Dio, you are monitoring the live chat, but even though you went outside to cough up your coronavirus, everyone still heard, and that's because you didn't close the door.
Sorry.
Were you born in a tent?
Yes. I was very sheltered growing up.
Yeah. Now, as we have clearly established, drag has been around forever, but it's strictly adult entertainment. And I said in my introduction, I still don't know who came up with this idea of drag story time to read to children, that they should read, what is it? Everyone knows the book My Pet Goat because it's what George W. Bush read during 9/11, but yeah, who came up with this? Who got around in a table and thought, yeah, this is something we basically need to spread all around the Western world?
Well, okay, so I did my research when I did my video. It is a woman from San Francisco. She's a lesbian and a feminist, and she's also an author. Her name is Michelle Tea. And from what I understand, some of the approved material are her own books. So I would love to know if she originally did this just to get exposure for her work, or if she really, thought, oh, it'd be great for drag queens, or to read to children. But yeah, she's a lesbian feminist from San Francisco. She's an author, and that's really all I know about her. And I know, I don't know if you've noticed this in your country, but there is like the Drag Queen Storybook Hour. That's the like official one, but then there's some that will say Drag Book Storybook Time.
That's why I say time, not hour, because it might not go for an hour.
Right. I would hope not. I hope they wouldn't be exposed to that person for an hour. But it's there are different organizations that do the reading, but the official one, her name is Michelle Tea, a lesbian feminist from San Francisco.
And as I said in my introduction, there's some who have been revealed these Drag Storytime readers to have actual pornographic backgrounds, and some are actual child sex offenders. And Michelle Malkin, on her website, it got syndicated amongst all of the America First website, that there was one council in Michigan where it was exposed how they were not checking doing police checks or vetting the child drag performers. And of course we've seen those disturbing photos of that drag queen where you can see up their dress. And this photo, I know you can't see what I show you, you've just got a basic setup there, but I'll show it for our audience. This was shared on Gavin McGuinness's channel, this drag storytime reader, and this is, you can see the young child there, and that is actually full pants. They are actually wearing full pants there, but obviously the around the crotch area are skin colored. Right. So it's meant to obviously imply that that's all they're wearing, which, even though it's not their actual flesh, it's still entirely inappropriate for children.
Right. I completely agree. That's a very common way of somebody not exposing their body, but implying to you that they are, that is their skin. That's a very common costuming for usually men who don't want to shave. So they use flesh-colored material to cover, their hairy parts or whatever. But yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to be sexy.
Now, supposedly when these drag queens read to children, they're just reading standard children's books. They're supposedly not acting in the sexual adult manner. But we've also seen now children becoming drag queens, and the most prominent two, Desmond is Amazing and Lactasia. Now, Lactasia is a bit older than Desmond is Amazing and seems much more sure of himself and more confident and worldly, and sounds like that's what he wants to do. But the shows that Lactasia puts on, and or I'll allow you to explain the name itself.
For what, lactatia?
Yeah, what the name means.
Oh, it's like a woman lactating from her breasts, producing milk.
Mm.
That's what I'm assuming it is, and it's hard for me to believe that a child that age would even know what that is.
But yeah, Lactasia in their performances, it's still it's still a child performing in. They might not think it that's way, and some of the people seeing it might not see it in that way. But it is a sexualized manner, or to show off the body. Like that's,
Okay.
I just feel just creeped out just talking about it there. But Desmond is amazing, is slightly younger and does look like he's lost. He doesn't look confident. And there of course was that footage of him performing at a strip club, getting dollar bills from, performing at a gay bar, I should say.
Right.
What looked like a striptease with attendees putting dollar bills. I can't remember the exact footage, but showering him with dollar bills, which is creepy enough. But we've been Blair White, who's a trans YouTuber. I found out that this footage is actually a year old. This is Desmond is amazing, and I'll explain who this drag queen that he's with is in a moment. But this actual video itself is disturbing.
Anyone can do drag. Everyone can do drag.
Everyone can
Your mom can do drag. 1488. Oh, sorry. It was just off track, okay?
1488.
It was only $400 off. There's no genders. You can be male, female, any, or none. Only U.S. people can have a bunch of made-up genders.
That's not true at all.
No. Oh my
They
God,
are.
Hitler was right.
What? See.
Bella
all right.
Noche, putting the P in LGBT P plus. You should eat some
I don't even know what
foods,
that means.
little nibba.
But I'm getting hate comments. Does this mean I'm famous now?
Is this what he wants? Lots of respect for you guys. Thank you. Press G to gas. G. 1, 2, 3, 4 G's. What has this world come to? It's come to a world where drag kids actually exist.
And people do ketamine on a couch.
How old is your BF? Hello?
Yeah.
Hitler was right. Helicopter.
Okay, that's enough there. And obviously, the disturbing aspect of that is the ketamine sniff, and like obviously those comments directed. I'm not sure if I assume they're directed at Desmond himself. Those alt-right troll comments, and people they should criticize the people promoting Desmond to be this child drag star. They shouldn't attack him himself, because he is obviously still confused, and so we should have sympathy for him.
Oh, totally. And it's funny. I believe, was it his parents? His parents had like tons of people after videos like that call Child Protective Services on them, and they've been out to investigate and stuff. But I don't know how they could look at that video and think there's nothing wrong.
And why would you get your child to read out all the hate comments about them? I mean, like child actors, for example, like say Mara Wilson pops to head. Like, did her parents let her read all the hate mail she may have received from crazed people?
Yeah. Now I couldn't hear like the video you played, so I couldn't hear all of that. So he was reading hate mail that people were sending.
That or hate comments that like
Okay.
you should be gassed and that Hitler was right.
Now, see, that is something that I've seen lots of drag queens do in videos. They will read their hate mail and laugh at it, but we're adults, we can take it. So he obviously is being influenced by adults, and he's just not equipped to deal with it, And I don't understand the parents. Why would the parents allow that? You think that the child the parents would want to protect him as much as possible, and I don't see any of that.
Now, I'll just play this clip again slightly. Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. The
rides, yay!
Yep, so that adult drag queen with him there, that is Michael Aleg, who's a convicted murderer who was part of the Club Kids scene in the early 90s in New York. Frequented was at the Limelight nightclub, which was known for its drug dealing taking place, drug use, and Michael Aleg and another club kid murdered another club kid, Angel Menendez. It was over a dispute about drug money or payments or something like that. They claimed that they acted in self-defense, but if that was the case, then why did they chop up the body and tie it up and dump it in a river? And before they chopped it up, they bought a whole bunch of heroin. Like they chopped it up while on heroin. He took a plea deal of 10 to 20 years for manslaughter. Michael Aleg served 17 years. It was released in 2014, but has now gone back into the scene like nothing is wrong. And Desmond the Amazing's parents are happy for their child to appear in a video with a convicted murderer. Like, a convicted murderer should not have a working with children check. Like, that's... You don't know that watching that, but that's what Blair White alerted us to. And
I don't understand the value. I don't understand the value in that.
In this video.
Yeah, no, like why would the parents want that? Like what do they want from Michael to rub off on their child? Like I don't get. I mean, it wasn't the movie Party Monster.
Yes,
based on
Macaulay Culkin played Michael Aleg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean they're just druggy club kids. What the hell does that have to do with children? I don't know, and I don't understand why more isn't being done by the government to ensure that this child is okay. I don't...
Because, apparently Child Protective Services said there was no problem. And I noticed that Wikipedia has just become a fake information and history website. All they just talk about is that, trolls are sending him death threats. Wikipedia's just implying he just wants to be himself and there's these mean people to him.
Himself, he don't even know who he is. He's not even done growing yet. See, this is the problem. This is the problem when you bring kids into this kind of environment. They don't know right from wrong. They don't know, they have all these adults being this negative influence on them, and all they do is just absorb it and they act out. And how is this child even going to know what it is to be a decent person? But just because he waves a rainbow flag and dresses like a girl and says everybody love, does that mean he's a good person? It's ridiculous.
Now, obviously, not just the growth of drag, but also the transgender, we just say movement, or that Dia's just left. I'm not sure if she's going to have a coughing break. We'll see if we can hear this time. But yes, going back to my point that there's more transgender people now, and especially more transgender children, and probably the biggest cultural impact has been the show RuPaul's Drag Race, which has featured both drag queens who are males by day and some who are transitioning to be women. And obviously RuPaul was one of the club kids himself back in the late 80s and 90s, but thankfully didn't go down the destructive path that Michael Aleg did. But what's your analysis of the legacy of it? Obviously the show is continuing, but it does have a legacy already, RuPaul's Drag Race. How do you see that?
It's interesting how you were talking about Michael Alig and RuPaul being club kids. There's another one, James St. James. He's actually very involved in the production company that does RuPaul's Drag Race. Um, he's done videos for RuPaul's channel or Wow Presents. That's the company. But so that's the other club kid influence is the James St. James guy. But I think RuPaul's Drag Race has been around for what, 10 years now. So I can see that it would be an influence on young children. And I kind of get this impression that I don't want to sound misogynistic, but I think it's a thing that mothers do with their kids. They probably sit around and watch RuPaul's Drag Race, and they just they don't understand. And I could tell by these kids when I see them speaking about drag and being themselves and expressing themselves. I don't think they understand that even the drag queens that are there, they don't live like this. They're just a character for a certain period of time and then they take it off. And I don't think that that's something that the kids are understanding. They're saying, well, I'm being myself. Well, I'm not being myself right now. I'm just doing whatever I felt like painting on my face and whatever hair I put on. But I'm not expressing anything and I'm not being myself. So I don't understand that. But I do see that they are being very influenced. And there's also a part of me that's starting to think that they're molding maybe gay boys into thinking that they're women. It's like, well, I like boys, so that must mean I'm a girl. I'm afraid of that going on. But this exact topic is what I'm going to be discussing in March in Northern California. I've been asked to go to this city where there's 472 children in this elementary school in the city. Over 300 of them claim to be LGBT. And these are like minor children, like small kids. And it's like, there's definitely a problem going on. So my job is going to be to go to that school with a panel of other people, and I'm going to be the only drag queen. And so I'm going to find out from these mothers of this town what they do, if they do expose their children to this, if it's something that they enjoy together. Because I think a lot of this is attention seeking, it's seeking the approval of your parents. And I just think it's something it's gone crazy, and it definitely needs to be controlled in some way. I don't know how you do it, but I don't know. I just think it's crazy. But yeah, I do think that shows like RuPaul's Drag Race has definitely had an impact, and I think a negative impact.
Dia's back in the studio. Dia, we could all hear you that time as well.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, we heard you out there.
No, you didn't. I was in the top. Stop it. That's mean.
But I'm not sure if Dia's told you much about the anointed LGBT lobby in Australia, I should call it, because they anointed themselves. They're not. They don't speak for all. As I said, we have this term in Australia, the quiet Australians, but there's also the quiet LGBT people who just want to live their lives, go to work, come home at night. They're not interested in pushing all this stuff onto children. We have the Safe Schools program, which the one in Victoria was designed by Marxist Ros Ward, who did claim that 50% of young people were LGBT. And give you an idea of her worldview, she said that the Australian flag is racist, and her work won't be done until the communist flag is put up in its place. And she was ridiculed at the time for speculating or claiming that 50% of young people identified as LGBT. But what you just said, it seems like, well, she's right, or she's either getting her wish come true.
I don't know, but I think when I was a kid, they said what, maybe 10% of the population was gay.
Well, that's not even before. Yeah, that's like census and statistics have showed that well, it may have changed now, but that has been wildly inflated.
Oh, even 10% was inflated.
Oh, in the past, you just quoted
Yeah.
me, like young people today, but that 10% has been around for around 20 years, but it certainly wasn't reflected in the actual statistic at the time. It was around 2%.
It's almost like, but they constantly talk about it. They are actually training people on how to be gay. I don't understand that. I knew I was gay from a very early age. No one had to teach me how to be gay. In fact, when I was around certain gay people that was, involved in our family and stuff, they actually grossed me out. And I thought as a gay person, I would turn out to be like that. And so I don't like them. I feel like they're actually training kids, how to be gay when there really is no blueprint to being a homosexual. You just are. But I don't know. I definitely think it's a cultural thing. Um, I don't know why they're making a culture out of drag. I mean, I don't even know why they make a culture out of gay. I mean, to me, it's just it's a nightclub culture. And I don't know understand why kids have to be taught that stuff.
I think it's people have always craved identity, community, and we are seeing a resurgence of it all across the Western world. The identitarian movement, and when obviously that word is used, it refers to ethnic nationalism and that sort of thing. But it's true, identitarianism is part of why people or wear their sexuality as such a badge that it forms. I'm not sure if you've ever seen the British television show Little Britain, but there's the gay character David Thomas, and he likes to claim that he's the only gay in the village, and his whole personality, his whole life is based around him being gay, and he's also a victim as well. He sees homophobia everywhere, even though all the people in his Welsh mining village of Llandewi, Brethi, they don't care. And later in the series, it turns out that a lot of them are gay as well.
Well, that's the one thing I've noticed is I don't understand the wearing the badge or the label of, hey everybody, I'm gay. It's like the reality is nobody cares. They really don't care. And I don't understand the identity politics. I don't understand the in this country people are proud of their mental illness. If you are depressed, people love to tell you all about it. It's like being a vegan. They don't just post a recipe or a picture of their food. They tell you, "Oh, this is my vegan chili." It's like nobody gives a shit what's in your chili.
Or
And
even
it's
gluten-free people. There's that famous South Park episode where Mr. Mackey goes gluten-free and he has to tell everyone how great it is.
Oh, totally. Me and my partner, we joke about it all the time. In fact, Hogatha is one of these people. She's a vegan. She don't do gluten. She don't do anything, and she makes sure she tells you all about it. I'm just reflecting that culture, and I can't stand it. It's just so stupid.
I mean, I don't eat seafood. I think seafood is gross. Fish, lobster, whatever, prawns, salmon. Yeah, it just smells and tastes disgusting. But I don't go around saying, I don't eat that disgusting seafood stuff. Can't believe you people put that foul-smelling thing in your mouth. Like, I just don't eat seafood.
And I'm sure that if you were eating a hamburger or something, you wouldn't take a picture of it, put it on Instagram, and hashtag no fish. It's like,
I didn't order the filet fish. Who orders that?
right. It's I don't get it. I don't understand.
Now, I've talked about the child drag queens, but there are. It's been reported in these childhood gender dysphoria clinics, the 400% increases in children attending them with gender dysphoria. And for a number of years now, the poster child of trans children was Jazz Jennings. She's now 18 and has had what is called the bottom surgery, though it she had to have two operations because the first one there were complications, and she posted a photo of herself like in a bikini with her scars there, which is because that's what the the bottom surgery changing, and we don't want to get too graphic. Well, we've already said that this is not a family-friendly show, but even that is, some people find that hard to handle. That obviously as an adult transitioning from male to female or male to male, we've already talked about the hormone treatment, but then there is the surgery as well. For trans men, they have the mastectomy, or even it's on the tip of my tongue, the hysterectomy, to take away their female reproductive organs, so they don't even have their period in that. And obviously for men, it's basically melting the penis into a shape of the vagina. But for men, as soon as they start taking the estrogen, they are permanently infertile. And this is why it's become extremely controversial with children transitioning, because the main reasoning for having children transition at puberty is because obviously if they don't go through puberty and their biological gender, they'll, as the expression goes, pass better. Like, for example, Jazz Jennings, she looks just like a woman because she never went through male puberty. And you see these adult trans women mainly, and they still sound you can tell that they're transgender or transsexuals. Well, the term used to be transsexuals used to signify that you'd had the bottom surgery, but they're easily identifiable. And so the original justification for this, well, you don't want them going through the pain and permanency of going through male puberty or female puberty.
It's funny because I recently I figured I should research this stuff because I get talked about it a lot. I get asked about it a lot. There's like even controversy within the community, like let's say about specifically the puberty blockers that they give to boys to avoid the puberty. But what they have found is that it also stunts the growth of their penis. And the penis, you have to have a penis to construct a vagina when they decide to do it. Well, there isn't enough material there to create the vagina.
This was,
so what they do is,
going back to Jazz Jennings, she, because there's that TLC documentary series about her, she actually spoke about this, but because, well, she was on hormone blockers and then estrogen, that, like, obviously her male penis was not enough to work with. And I don't know if I haven't watched the series. I don't know if that's because that's what led to the complications or not. But I'm just saying that I described Jazz Jennings as the poster child. She went through exactly what you just described.
Right, and sorry. They what they have to do to compensate for the lack of the material from a penis is they are now using parts of the colon to construct a vagina. And I saw a story where this one trans woman complained because her vagina always smelt like a colon. And we can imagine what that smells like. And the thing is, I don't even know if these people even realize the percentage of people who detransition, who decide I made a mistake. So what do you do with people with children who are on puberty blockers, who end up not having an adult penis, and now have a colon for a vagina?
And they're infertile as well, as I said before. The estrogens makes you permanently infertile. It shrinks. No matter what age you take it, estrogen shrinks the penis. You can't get an erection, and there's no semen that comes out when you orgasm.
No, and there are trans who don't do the surgery. Like Blair White does not have bottom surgery, and she has said, I believe she's not even sure she's going to do it. But she's had the facial feminization, and breast implants. I've met her before, and but there's a population of people, including the people who first transitioned in the past. They're turning back as old people. They've decided I've made a mistake, and there's some who cannot transition back because of all the surgeries that they've had. But I don't think. See, it's even you're turning children into Frankenstein. I mean, I want to know who's the one who signed off on this and they act like it's normal and it's healthy. And why are people buying it? And that's why I do what I do. Why are people just buying it? And why are you're ruining children's lives? And I don't understand that.
My main problem with, well, not just the child trans movement, but just that, well, the increase in transitions, gender transitions, and the sort of movement lobby that's emerged is that, well, I'm a libertarian. Like, I want people to be happy. I support bodily autonomy, but I hope and I want people to make the right decisions, and doing this intense transformation of your body, it's irreversible. And so I hope that you're making the right decision. And in the past, there used to be intense psychological sessions. There used to multiple doctors had to sign off on the various stages, and that there was a thorough process to make sure that, yes, this person definitely needs to transition to the opposite gender to have a functional life. Because let's not remember that there are those who vast majority, those who've transitioned, who say that it saved my life, and I would have killed myself if I was still trapped in my biological sex. And you take them at their word that for some people, that's the only way they can function in society. But we've sort of, and even the medical community now, they're feeling a lot of political pressure, and that there's not that thorough process to make sure that it's the people who feel that they definitely need to transition, they are, but there's enough procedures in place to make sure that a person who may regret it is not given the sign off.
Well, it's like a child is going to know exactly what to say to get what they want, or to think what they want at that moment. It's no different than in our country when illegals come to our border and they say, "Oh, I fear for my life." They know exactly what to say. People tell them what to say. "I fear for my life," and they're an instant refugee. They know how to jump through these hoops and get what they want. So if a child knows, "Oh, I'm going to kill myself," I mean, that's such a common thing. "I'm going to kill myself," that, they're going to give them exactly what they want. And also, people who have transitioned, and as time goes on, they have realized that the ones who come back, who detransition, they say it really didn't make it better. It made it better for a moment, temporary, happiness. But in the long run, they still feel like there's something wrong with them, even though that they're living their life as the sex that they just thought that they were meant to be. So I don't know. I don't know all the numbers involved with that, but as far as I know, depression is still a thing within their world. I mean, maybe the suicide rate was 40%, if I got that correctly, but they.
Well, the argument then is that's because of societal discrimination, continuing societal discrimination, and it does go on. I mean, we should be perfectly clear that you should be respectful to genuine trans people who have made a formal transition. Obviously, when we talk about absurd pronoun laws and that, we're talking about the non-binary people who, well, it's mainly girls who cut their hair short and dye it blue who say they're non-binary now. What is it? Was that Milo Stewart is the most prominent? Are they still around? I haven't checked in. I know that.
Who, the people who color their hair and claim to be a different gender?
Yeah, non-binary.
Oh yeah, no. You know what? People are so desperate to be different that I worked with a guy who told me he was part of the LGBTQ community, and I said, "Really? How are you part of it?" And he said, "Well, I'm married to a black woman, and I'm asexual. And so I allow her to have sex with other men. And I said, that makes you part of the LGBTQ community? And he said, yes, because I don't live a heteronormal normative life. And I just, at that moment, I realized I never want to talk to this person again. And I don't understand the need to do that. Like you talk about the blue-haired people who all of a sudden say they're a different gender. We were doing that in the 80s. We were coloring our hair any color. It's like it's almost as if I'll tell you what I think it is. The extreme nerds and antisocial people have like decided they want to be cool, so they're going to do what the cool kids used to do, and then they're going to claim they're victims. I'm really trying to figure this out, but I don't understand the whole gender thing. And the thing is, they wouldn't even know it existed if no one even told them. To me, I don't know if you guys did this in Australia, but people were cutting themselves, I believe, in the 90s, early 2000s, and it became this huge thing. Everybody was cutting themselves. So now I worked with people who are in their 30s who have scars all over their arms, and once in a while they'll cut themselves and put a Band-Aid on it. And it's like I think this is the new thing, the new way to get attention. That I can't wait for it to be over, to be honest with you.
There's the expression dressed to be oppressed.
Oh yeah, they'll deliberately do it. And I remember myself when I was 19, I was a punk, and I would green hair, red hair, wear all my makeup and stuff. And I would go out of the house begging for someone to stare at me so I can turn around and be an asshole to them. And I think there's a lot of that. I really do. But the thing is, I think because, people in my age group, I'm 50 now, we're grandparents now. We're not impressed by it. We're not impressed by your hair. We're not impressed by your sexual positions or that you're gay or whatever. We don't care because we already did it all. So I think maybe they're just they're so desperate to get attention that they'll do anything. That's what I think.
And there's of course it's basically turned into a repetitive motto now that trans women are women, and that trans women have always been women, and you can't ever question that they're 100% women. And of course this is pushed by the far left social justice warriors, and thankfully in Australia we have many sensible transgender individuals in the media. Dee's interviewed Dana Pam, and there's also Kate McGregor, who is a ex Australian military, and forgive me for dead naming her, but her name was Malcolm McGregor, but transitioned to Kate later in her military career. And sorry?
Jordan Peterson panel?
Yes, Kate McGregor was next to Jordan Peterson on our Australian Q&A program. The ABC just thought sticking a trans woman next to Jordan Peterson would lead to fireworks, but Kate McGregor is very rational. She says that I'm a trans woman. I'm not a woman. I don't speak for women. I was not raised, socialized as a woman. Obviously, trans women, they don't have ovaries, produce eggs, can't bear children, don't have periods. And was it Jermaine Greer, the old, as I say, dried up feminist, said that trans women are not women because they don't have to put up with smelly vaginas.
Well, the thing is, if you're a real woman, why do you have to say you're a trans woman? Like, it makes no sense to say, oh no, we're real women. Well, if you're real women, then why are you a trans woman? It doesn't make, it's like, just call it what it is. I mean, now you want everybody just to pretend. You're already telling us, you want us to believe, I feel like a woman. No, you don't, because you don't know what a woman feels like. You have no idea. It is impossible to know what it feels like to be something that you're not. So you're now convincing yourself you're a woman because you like pink and flowers and men, and now all of a sudden you're a woman. But to then turn around and have the nerve to say, well, we are women. No, you're a trans woman. You made a decision that you wanted to be a woman. Just own it. We accept it. We accept you're an adult. you may look masculine and stuff, and that's your problem. Go get some surgeries or something. But being trans is an expensive thing to do. It's all cosmetic, and if you can't commit to it, then don't do it. But uh, it's almost like it's almost like it's a big joke, and they want to see how many people they could fool, and they want to see how many people they can control. And so far, everybody's just lying and telling them what they want to hear because they're afraid of being misogynistic, racist, homophobic, transphobic, you name it. I don't care. I don't care. I will call it what it is.
And of course, we've got all the pronoun laws coming into effect now. And obviously, you're safe in the United States, even in California, that the United States has the First Amendment. But we have no free speech amendment in Australia, neither does the UK and Canada. So they can pass these hate speech laws against transphobia, homophobia, and even if you mean no malice in misgendering somebody, it's still like the gravest crime. Like they act like you've committed some sort of heinous act. Like you're not even allowed to make the slip-ups now.
See, and we hear about that, and we honestly don't know if it's a myth or if it's just like a propaganda or whatever. But so people are getting in trouble for misgendering people.
Oh, it's happening in the UK. Like there was a autistic a child who was arrested because a trans female police officer looked like a man and called them a man.
Okay, so why was it okay to punish a handicapped child for something that an adult would do to themselves? It's like the child saw what it saw, and the child obviously is not an average child. They have autism. I can't believe that would actually happen. That is ridiculous. But in this country, while we can say what we want to say, we're not free from cancel culture.
Oh, yes.
Cancel culture is here. So they get you in another way. You may not get a citation or jail time, but you'll lose your family, your friends, your job, things like that.
And you said you're on a Facebook ban. Are you on a permanent Facebook ban, or just was that 30-day ban?
I get back-to-back bans. So this last one has been 60 days, because what they'll do is they will go back at it's always an LGBT person. They will go into my profile, they'll find something offensive, they will report it, I'll get a 30-day ban, and then a week later, I'll get another 30-day ban. So then you end up just stacking up the bans. And it's really nothing, they've stopped. It used to be Hogatha, LGBT people coming in and saying, this is offensive, no, I'm not doing anything wrong, and you know it, you just don't like it. So what they do is they report it. I've stopped getting the bans for that. Now, I said the F word for a man, gay man, about myself, and I got banned for that. But I do push, I know what I'm doing. I do push the buttons. I do get as close to that line as possible. But I'm constantly getting banned, and I've been completely deleted. I had following of 7,000 people on another profile, and they just one day just up and removed it. And I was like, oh God, that just devastated me, because it was like I was going somewhere. Well, I had to create a whole new page for my two, Kitty and Hogatha, and they're growing, but not like what they were at all.
You mentioned the new F word now, which apparently, this is just broken in Australia in the last 24, 48 hours. It should, if a program or a segment is going to air the new F word, everyone will know what I mean by that. It should come with a trigger warning. And now there's also the T word, and we were talking about RuPaul before. Even RuPaul got in trouble because an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race a couple of years back used the word tranny and she-male. And in fact, it was after one of our tabloid newspapers described a it was quite distasteful, a slayin trans woman as a she-male, and after that, that word was banned in Australia. In fact, was it Fiona Patten, she's a Reason Party MP now. Before, she was the president of the Eros Foundation, which represents the adult industry. She actually, in response to this outrage over the she-male headline, she made sure that all the adult entertainment stores in Melbourne, they got rid of all their pornography which had the word she-male on it, which it's pornography. It's not politically correct to begin with.
Because that's so important, right? That's so important to society to actually regulate the words on a pornographic magazine or a DVD. That's so dumb. I mean, that's really stupid. I mean, she-male was actually a term I remember where they called themselves that. In fact, the way RuPaul used it wasn't in a derogatory way at all. All of a sudden it's derogatory, but when RuPaul was doing it, he was referring to she-male as like email. Let's read the she-male, and he put she in there because they all pretend to be girls. They call each other girls and she and stuff. But yeah, because and he had to apologize, remove it, all this stuff, because all of a sudden it was offensive. It's like tomorrow a new word's going to be offensive. And I think it's funny how you have to give the trigger warnings for the new F word, but you don't have to do it for the old F word, do you?
You can just, fuck away.
Right. I mean, what's happening?
Yeah, but we do. Everyone realizes that the word female has the word male in it, and the word woman has the word man in it.
So offensive. So offensive. Human too. Human.
Oh yes, has man in it. Well, that's why Justin Trudeau invented people kind.
How do you say that and not laugh?
Yeah.
No.
Well, it was peak the fact that he interrupted her to say it. He later claimed it was a dumb joke after the backlash, but yeah, after he said it, the whole crowd cleared, and he was like, "We can all learn from each other." And I remember it was Paul Joseph Watson's response video. He's just staring at it. It was like, "No," and just gets a gun and shoots himself.
I don't know. It's entertaining. I'll tell you that. It's very entertaining, but I don't know what is it. What's it doing for the next generations? It's like.
Yeah, we have a suburb in Sydney called Manly, and feminists wanted it changed for International Women's Day to be womanly, but this was after the people kind thing, and so we said no, it should be called people-y.
Well, yeah, why not? If you see, that's the thing. They don't really want the equality; they just want power. So just name it to people. Don't even put man or woman. Just do people, human. No, you can't do human. I don't know. It just nothing with MAN in it at all.
Well, there's the female name Samantha. So would it have to be People-a? People-tha?
It's also a drag queen name, Amanda, where instead of it's Amanda, but Amanda, that's used as a drag name.
This is how we're joking now, but careful what you joke about, because it might become serious in the next 5 minutes.
Oh, I completely. In fact, when I use the F word, because I refuse to be censored. They will censor my spelling. I'll say that. So the new F word for me is PH at GGZ. If I want to say it, that's how I'll spell it.
And like you said, saying that in the United States is not illegal, and also it's not illegal to say the whistleblower's name, but we can't of the Trump impeachment, but we're not allowed to say it on YouTube because apparently that's doxing, even though there's no law against saying the whistleblower's name. It's something similar to Eric Cartman, the whistleblower's name. That's how I say it.
Well, what's so funny is talking about the whistleblower. Before I got banned, I was discussing the whistleblower, and when you would write his name, they would like within 30 seconds delete it. Like there are algorithms that look for that name and remove it. And I was telling everybody in this feed, we were all typing. I said, "Go ahead, type his name, and they type it, and Facebook would remove it. They never banned me for it, but they would remove any traces of the name."
Like Rand Paul said the name on the Senate floor, which is perfectly legal, but it was broadcast on C-SPAN, but it's now completely cleansed from all rebroadcasts of C-SPAN. He's a senator.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and he's being censored for it. It's just amazing. Everybody knows it. I mean, but it's funny. There are some people who don't. They think it's somebody else. But when you type out the two names, one is deleted and the other one isn't. So
yes, yeah. Though we're still told it's the alleged whistleblower.
Right. Of course. Yeah. I mean, we know it is. If they're going to censor it and remove it, then I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever be officially released. We'll see.
Now, the message that I played at the beginning of the show are yours to woke parents taking their children to Drag Queen Storytime hour. Is it, in fact, shouldn't we just say time? We shouldn't put like an actual because an hour is quite restraining. That's why I don't like to call it Drag Queen Story Hour, because you don't want to put I think constraining time, I think that's oppressive.
I agree, because how can you fully? I mean, what the children might be slow. They might need extra explanation on about genders. I mean, really, in an hour, how do you school them on every single gender? Are we up to like 50 something?
Yeah, and who decided there was 60 minutes in an hour?
Well, yeah, I mean, it had to be a white person, of course, who decided that. So it's probably a male, a cisgendered male. So it's evil all the way around. I mean, how are we ever gonna? We should just all kill ourselves. That's what we're gonna do.
Oh, well, there are climate cultists who've called for people kind to become extinct.
Oh, there are people in this country who refuse to breed, and because of it, it's so stupid.
Larry Rude Dude has said Timmy is time phobic.
Yes. You need therapy for that.
But going back to your message, and we're going to be serious for a moment. It was a response to Wilson Gavin, the Brisbane-based Australian young political activist who led a protest against Drag Queen Storytime in the City of Brisbane Library, which it was a public library, facilitated by the City of Brisbane. Wilson Gavin, he was the president of the then young LNP. Oh, no, sorry, it was the Queensland University of Technology Liberal National Party Club, which I will stress was not affiliated with the Liberal National Party of Queensland. The student groups, they're never formally affiliated with the political parties of their namesake, but the Liberal National Party back in December officially severed all ties. And well, the City of Brisbane has a Liberal National Party mayor and majority council as well, so it was his own party that the party that he identified with that were facilitating this. And I'll play the Instagram footage here to refresh everyone's memory here. Here we go here.
Drag queens are not for kids. Drag queens are not for kids. Drag queens are not for kids. Very much. Drag queens are not for kids. The law is not for kids. Drag queens are not for kids. Drag queens are not for kids. You do not have permission to kill me.
Now, that footage is actually very misleading. It looked like they interrupted the event. They did not. They waited until the event was over to make their political statement. And this happened on the Sunday. And of course, there was immediate backlash when it surfaced online, and that was enhanced by Jessica Claire, however, that's why she's just known as one of the Veronica twins. Jessica shared it. That's how terrible this protest was, which of course amplified the backlash, and it was. It was getting like really they were calling the protesters Nazis, Hitler Youth. That was trending on Australian Twitter. They were really going after them, and it was around about midday on the Monday when the news had filtered through that Wilson had taken his own life. And well, I interviewed Wilson. It was a couple of years back in 2018. He first was on the. I'm not sure if Dee has explained to you his background, but during our same-sex marriage postal survey, he was on the no side. He did an interview on David Pello's channel about being a gay against same-sex marriage, and he made the point way back then that I've never faced any prejudice in my family, friend, community circles has all been from the left because I'm a conservative gay. But I didn't interview him over that. I interviewed him because he was also a representative of the Australian Monarchist League. So I interviewed him about, because we spoke about it at the beginning, it's a constant sort of cultural debate. Should we continue being a constitutional monarchy, or should we become a republic, maybe not in the US model, but with our own head of state? So I interviewed him over that. So he'd been around for a while, and he was culturally conservative, or as I said, he was a practicing homosexual gay, which means because there are those who, well, they say they're homosexual, but they believe that homosexuality is sinful because of their Christian belief, and so they don't practice it. Wilson, he identified as a Catholic, but to my knowledge, he did engage in homosexual acts, and just to sort of be clear on that. So he was an active gay, but of course that didn't stop the backlash against him, which he tragically took his own life the next day. But then you had the as I said, anointed LGBT lobby, who then turned around and tried to wash their hands of this and say, oh, even though we disagreed with Wilson about this protest, he was still part of our community, and clearly he was a tortured soul because he was a Catholic conservative and a gay, and so and this was the real. They just guessed that this is probably what drove him to suicide, and they said, this is why vulnerable gay youth need programs like Safe Schools, trying to turn it on its head. And it's like, no, he was not part of your community. I mean, just because you claim to speak on behalf of the LGBT community, you don't. And obviously Wilson's activism showed that no, a lot of gays and LGBT people, they do not like this drag queen story time, and obviously it didn't. His own sexuality didn't help him from being harassed, and obviously you received backlash, or even before your viral message, from people who didn't like Hogatha.
Yes. If you go, it's funny because the LGBTQ community is nothing that I signed up for. They just lump you into that box.
You haven't got a gay card? Or were you issued with a gay card? Because there's that, on lefty Twitter, they're saying, this person should have their gay card revoked.
Right. I don't even have one. It's
a pink slip.
The game, huh?
A pink slip.
Yeah, there you go. But it's like, they claim to, like, we're so diverse, which they're not. My experience is the gay community is one of the most racist and most elitist communities I've ever been a part of, and it's they only believe in diversity of color, not of thought. You have to think exactly like them. It's a cult. It's exactly what it is. It's a cult. And I love how after they drove him to suicide, they then said, "Well, he was one of us." It's like, no, he wasn't, and he wasn't, and you're acting like now you're sorry for his death because you lost one of your own. This is just an opportunity for you to get the spotlight and try to look like a good person,
And
but
wash
that's
your
not.
hands.
Yes, and then what? And then what? You said, "Oh well, he was troubled because he was Catholic or whatever."
You
No, I
didn't
don't think
know
he was
him.
troubled. Yeah, he wasn't troubled at all. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he had his own thoughts and his own opinions, and he was expressing it. And you have these people in this cult who are, refusing to allow you to do that, and they will ruin your life over it.
And as obviously we established at the beginning of the show, you're a massive Trump supporter. Took 2 days of your life just to see Trump for 2 hours, but as you said, it's all worth it. But 2016 marked a turning point in how LGBT people voted and were told to vote, because Trump he's not a social conservative. I mean, he obviously has done a lot of things to, I guess, satisfy the social conservatives in terms of religious liberty, but
Right.
obviously he's been married 3 times, had affairs, and of course you just need to hear the infamous Access Hollywood tape to know that he's a very sexual being. So what?
He likes vagina.
Yes, well, he is straight, so yes, he does like vagina. But yeah, obviously, Republican presidential candidates before that, if they weren't explicit social conservatives, they pandered to it. But obviously, there was obviously no charade with Trump. But the turning point in 2016 was, of course, the Orlando nightclub massacre. 50 people were murdered by a Muslim gunman in a gay nightclub, the Pulse nightclub, and they pledged it in support of ISIS, and ISIS was happy to claim responsibility. And this is what a lot of people on the right have been pointing out for a year. You're worried about homophobia, hate, people are a danger to you. Muslim nations under Sharia law, they execute gays, and this is Trump made that point, that I'm better for the gay community, I don't want a hateful foreign ideology. And he said that at the Republican National Convention to cheers there. And so that was sort of the flip turning point for, I think, many LGBT people who'd been brainwashed by the media that you must vote Democrat, that I don't want to get blown up, shot by a Muslim extremist or any other hate mongerer.
Mm-hmm. No, it's true, and the funny thing about Trump is it's understood that he's always been a Democrat, always been a Democrat. He just ran as a Republican, but people are, they tell me all the time, "Oh, Trump hates you, don't you? You're a self-loathing homosexual. You support the enemy." And and then my boyfriend being black, he hates black people too, don't you? And I said, you know what? The only thing he cares about is the color green. That's all he cares about, meaning money.
Greenbacks.
That's all, and he don't care. He's actually said, "I don't plan on touching gay marriage. It's already a law, so move on." Whether you agree with it or not. And you mentioned him, the religious right and stuff, and it's also known in this country. He's just we know he's not religious. I mean, he respects
yeah. I mean, it's just It's the same as Obama saying he was a Christian. Everyone knew that he wasn't a Christian.
No, but oh my God! But even back then, if you questioned it, oh my! If you even thought for a minute he was not a Christian and you thought he was a Muslim, you were racist and you were xenophobic and you were so much, you were everything. You know, this is what I don't understand. There is this worship for Obama by a certain part of our cult, our society. And we just sit there and wonder what the hell, like, why are you so, and I know what it is. I know what it is. It's because he's black. That's the only reason. I mean, as soon as he got in office, he couldn't do anything wrong. He couldn't do anything wrong because if you even question him, you're racist.
He
So,
could drone people overseas, murder them without due process, and yeah, the anti-war left under Bush, they were silent.
well, and in this country, they were circulating photos of, you know, they claim, they say children are held in cages at the border. They were actually circulating photos that they did not realize happened during the Obama administration. And and so the Democrats had to like explain the photos, that these are photos of kids in in boxes of fences laying on cement. And it came out that they were actually during Obama's time. And the media just completely stopped talking about it. You don't even hear about it anymore. You never hear about the what's happening in Trump, you know, caging Mexican children. It's so stupid. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the things that Trump does is people, they know that he's not a religious person. He's probably, you know, we're all culturally religious when it comes to Easter and Christmas. You know, all of a sudden everybody's a Christian on those 2 days. But we all know that. But I don't personally care. I just think he tells the right people what they want to hear to get done what needs to be done, and that's all I really care about.
It's a lot of people have been speculating or thinking that Pete Buttigieg could be the first gay president. And I actually do believe that America is going to get a gay president before it gets a female president. That just seems the way. I'm not sure what you think about that.
Probably, but I don't think it's going to be him. I mean, they're already tearing him apart. The one thing about this country is the left will eat itself. It's a snake, and it's eating its tail constantly. And you know, while Buttigieg was, you know, the second coming of Christ last week, this week he's like, you know, they bring up his old mayoral record that, you know, they now call him a racist, you know, because under his when he was a mayor in Indiana, there was lots of, you know, thing with the police and minorities and stuff. But that's the same shit that they're saying about Michael Bloomberg too. They're going after him. But what else? The gays, in particular, the gays don't really care for Trump, Buttigieg in this country. They don't think he's left enough.
We call them in Australia the commie gays, the ones who believe that they want to abolish the corporations, the police, like everything. In fact, even though the corporations and the police are their biggest fans at the moment, I mean, there's all the corporate virtue signaling. What is it that the ANZ Bank for our gay and lesbian Mardi Gras has their GayTMs, and well, it gives a new meaning to bank transaction. But like, it's these commie gays, like the globalists, the people in power, they're your friend at the moment.
Well, yeah, you know, that sounds a lot like our gay pride celebrations here in this country. It's nothing but a big corporate capitalistic venture. That's all it is. You pay, a gay person pays $20 to walk through a door or a gate, because they gate off blocks of a city. You go in there and you're just completely bombarded by MasterCard, Visa, insurance companies, and they all have rainbow flags everywhere. And they make they make it like it's so special for you, as if you just can't, you know, get a credit card without a rainbow flag on it. But it's nothing but they completely use us. And I don't understand why they don't see it. It's like they'll buy anything with a rainbow on it, and everybody understands that. So it's just, we're just being marketed to and used, and it's just, I don't know. I see it. There are other gay people who do see it. Those tend to be my friends.
And of course, there's we we're now having this debate where gays are on the intersectionality hierarchy, and well, there's been talk that the rainbow flag, it needs to have black and brown stripes to represent people of color. Of course, there's no white stripe to represent white people, but the thing that made me cringe in is you want a brown stripe on a gay flag.
Yeah, why would you want that? I mean, you know, we know what the joke is, so I don't know. They're not going to be happy. I mean, just if you put all the colors together, you end up with a muddy brown. So why don't you just make it a muddy brown flag? I mean, how many stripes can you add to it? How many colors? I mean, what is there? The only missing color is white, so we know we'll never see that on the flag. And besides that, the whole rainbow flag is an appropriation anyway. I mean, isn't it just the peace flag?
And of course, well, the term gay is an appropriation as well. Gay used to mean happy.
Well, yeah, I'll watch old movies, and they often use the word gay to, you know, and I knew it meant happy, but yeah, why that? Why wasn't homosexual enough?
There's that joke in the Simpsons with Mr. Burns saying, "Oh, that's Smithers. He doesn't even know the meaning of the word gay." And of course, Mr. Burns means gay as in happy.
Yes, his generation. Yeah, I mean, let me see. My mother is 73. I don't even think they used the word gay back then. It's like it'd be more like even like just prior to them, the generation before that, maybe the World War II generation. They used the word gay to mean happy.
And while we're on, we haven't touched on the gay pride parades. Yes, all the corporations love to sponsor, be involved, but that's another avenue or basically excuse for hyper sexualization, and with men with hardly any clothes on. In fact, in some pride parades throughout the world, they've been completely nude, and yeah, it's all ages. And you talked about that it costs money to go to pride parades in the US. They're all free in Australia.
No way.
Yeah, although maybe we pay for the pride parades through our taxes because all these government departments and authorities all sponsor them as well. So I guess we do pay by force for the pride parades.
And you know, and what you were saying about the sexualization of the pride events, I stopped going when I saw a transsexual male to female where who was wearing a bra where like the cups were missing, so the breasts were hanging out. Was wearing that, exposing his breast implant, and was wearing a strap-on dildo, and then wearing chaps with no underwear, you know, chaps like what cowboys wear, and was wearing this, and there are children there, and they don't care, and which I think the parents should care more about exposing their children to that. But I saw that, and then I see all the go-go boys running around. I've actually, you know, seen porn online that have been shot during Pride in an alleyway or in a car or in a tent there at the place. And I'm like, I don't want to pay for this. I mean, and especially when I'm there with children, it just made me feel dirty. It made me feel gross. And this is really why the biggest part of my video is these people are making the gay community look bad. You're basically putting targets on our back. We've already been called pedophiles throughout history. So what are you going to do? Oh, let's just bring the kids in. But we're not pedophiles, even though we have that reputation. But who cares what everybody thinks? Let's just bring the kids in and expose them to the drugs, nudity, sex, everything. You know, it's all about love and acceptance. And I can't stand that.
And this is why we've seen the intense backlash to, well, LGBT people, period, in the America First movement and the Groyper Army. I mean, Nick Fuentes, he's a devout Catholic. He thinks homosexuality is sinful, period. He believes that drag is totally degenerate and demonic. And have you met Lady MAGA?
Yes, I did an interview with Lady Maga once.
Well, they've criticised Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, and Ann Coulter for posing with Lady Maga, and the implication is that being a drag queen itself means you're a degenerate, want to corrupt our children, even though Lady Maga does not support Drag Queen Story Hour time.
Well, what are they supposed to do? Kick him in the face and say, "Get away from me, homo"? I mean, I don't I don't understand what do their fans want them to do. You, you're going to have to understand. People need to understand. I don't on the right that homosexuals exist, and the adult ones are going to be homosexuals, and they're going to live their life. A drag queen, they're going to live their life. People like Lady Maga goes out. And they're basically like I have a friend who does the same thing. He went to the one who was at the Trump rally. He wears high heels to all these political events. He does it to show the people on the right that there is support from some of the gay community and that we're with them. Now there are people on the right who don't like it, like the people you're speaking of. There are people who write to me all the time calling me a degenerate. We don't want you. We don't need you. And I basically push back on them, telling them, well, listen, you're a man in a dress, you're wearing makeup, and I'll tell them, I go, well, listen, I go, why does it take a man like me to get this message out? Why aren't you getting the message out? If you, as a heterosexual man who thinks that they know so much and they're all powerful, especially next to a gay man, why am I doing your job? Why am I trying to make this a better place for children, for your children? Well, while you sit with your fat ass on a couch playing a video game, I'm out there actually trying to make a difference. And so that's one part of the religious right that is really coming down on me. And so I understand that whole thing,
Well,
and,
Nick Fuentes, he did go on Milo Yiannopoulos' new show, what is it, Friday Nights All Right, and Milo years back had that drag character Ivana Wall.
I don't know who that. I'm not familiar with it.
Milo, he had a drag character back in 2017.
Milo, yes. I saw him on stage. He was in drag once, giving a talk to an audience in drag. Is that what that was?
Yes, we all still Ivana Wall. It still hasn't been, still under construction.
I just don't understand what the big deal is. I mean, why do they think it's weird? They're just like the people on the left. It's like you have to think one way, and if you think differently, then you're not one of us. And I just don't. I don't understand why people just can't work together. I consider what I do is like make basically a bridge. I'm trying to build a bridge between two communities that have something in common. If we can't meet on the bridge of wanting to save children, then what the hell can we agree on?
And I think that, well, the message that you want to get out, and this is why, well, there has been this intense backlash against LGBT people, period, because they're now seeing the LGBT people as a whole as a threat to a community traditional America. And so people like you have to, even though you're wearing an outrageous costume, that no, we can, we still want America to be the white picket fences, the families raising their children in harmonious, safe, wholesome communities. Do you believe that, well, there's LGBT Trump, are there LGBT traditionalists?
Well, I am. I mean, I believe in a family, being a man and a woman, raising children with a white picket fence. I mean, we need heterosexuals to give birth to gay people. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. So I don't understand. I mean, we built such a great country. I mean, with those values. So I don't understand why all of a sudden that's bad, or why is that negative. I mean, as a gay person, I could recognize that I believe that is a superior lifestyle. I think the heterosexual lifestyle is great. I think it's wonderful. I think it creates wonderful, well-rounded children when it's done right. So I don't have anything. It's like I can't. I can't say anything negative about it.
Tradwives, they're the most fabulous.
Who?
Tradwives, because they've been the latest traditionalist group under attack. Traditional wives, the one who take care of their husband and children, while they go to be the breadwinner or bring home the bacon to put food on the table.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, my mother was one of those. My mother was a career woman, but she was also a traditional mother too. She'd come home, cook, we would eat, we'd be a family. She'd get up in the morning, go to work while we were at school. I mean, I didn't have a mom that, sat at home with an apron on, baking cookies, but
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there isn't anything wrong with that. I guess, maybe if we lived in this type of society that people could afford to live that way. I mean, it seems to me that's a luxury at this point, unless you're a welfare mom and you sit at home on welfare, then you could be with your kids all day long. But typically a woman like that is just sitting at home and getting fat and not doing her job. So I don't know.
Well, we've gone on for nearly 2 hours now, but it's been a blast. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and people in the chat have really enjoyed it as well, because there was a lot to unpack there. To use the term in the traditional sense, we've had a gay old time. And
like on the Flintstones.
Yes. So I will enjoy the rest of your evening there, and good luck surviving in California into the future, because California is basically, I don't know, we haven't got much time left, but is California as bad as all the reports say?
It's worse.
Okay.
And that's why I was born and raised here, in my whole life in the LA area. And I am, me and my partner, we're trying in the next year and a half, we're moving. We want to move to Oregon, but we don't want to move to Northern Oregon. That's Portland, and Portland is like Los Angeles.
Well, Portland is where Antifa was born.
Right. So we are focusing on Southern Oregon. Southern Oregon and Northern California.
Yeah, state of Jefferson. They want to make the state of Jefferson.
You know that. I love that. Yes, the state of Jefferson. They like having their guns and stuff, and they live a more quiet, rural life. It's isolated from the big cities, and that's kind of where we want to retire and just live our lives. And, we'll just be some eccentric couple of men that people don't necessarily need to know we're gay. We're just, roommates. I don't care if people know I'm gay. I just, it's none of my business what they think of me, and it's none of their business what I do in the bedroom. So I can't wait to live that kind of life out of the crazy California life. And
the main way people can find you is still your YouTube channel, Kitty Demure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I can't bear to look at Hogatha. She's so repulsive and disgusting. Am I look phobic then? If I don't want to look at Hogatha?
No, I'm glad that you do have that reaction. I'm glad that the mass majority don't have that reaction, or she would get no attention. But no, but I'm going for that. That's what I'm going for.
And there should be a trigger warning, I believe, on does Hogatha have her own channel?
Yes, she does. She has her own YouTube channel. She has a page on Facebook, and she's on Instagram as well.
Yeah, so
as well.
Yeah, access it at your at your own risk.
Yes, it's not for everybody, but people who are sick of social justice warriors and the people who check every box on the oppression chart, you will enjoy Hogatha.
And thank you to the Dia Beltran character for being the moderator tonight. After you've taken off your face, Dia is taking off her face as well.
Hey, sing happy birthday to Peter Gray. race.
No, we don't mention his. Don't speak ill of the Facebook dead.
Peter V.
Peter, well, maybe you can do a special video there for Peter V, because Peter V's got his own YouTube channel now, maybe, because he's doing videos now, so maybe that can be a Peter V exclusive, Hogatha doing another happy birthday.
Dia pops into my lives every once in a while and wants me to say something for him, and I do it. I always do it. So if she wants me to do a special video, I will.
Okay,
Yay!
even though you don't know what she's getting you to say. She could be getting you to say something like really horrendously offensive, and you might not know.
I trust her. I trust her.
All right. Good night, Kitty. Take care.
Good night. Thanks, both of you. I had a great time.
Thanks for tuning in to WilmsFront. Visit timwilms.com or Rational Rise TV to view the archive of episodes. And keep visiting theunshackled.net to view all our shows and to keep up with the latest real news and analysis.